Government is looking at ways to overhaul current gun laws in the wake of just an astonishing trial, which has concluded it was a teenage murderer's plot to carry out the deadliest school shooting in history. The guy is called Nicholas Prosper. So Prosper murdered his mother and two siblings with an illegally purchased double-barrel shotgun, which he bought from somebody in a car park. He wanted to carry out a shooting at his former primary school. He was arrested on his way towards the school. So just have a look here. So this is this interesting footage here. He was actually seen. That was him purchasing the gun, and there's not been, as far as we know, any offence by the gun seller. But he purchased it because the current gun laws mean anyone with a firearms licence can sell a weapon to another licence holder, and then you simply tell the police about the transaction within 7 days. Prosper used a fake licence, and then he used the gun the very next day. And somebody said, look, the police gun-checking thing is an email system and it operates on office hours, so they missed it. Let's have a look now at the laws surrounding gun use and ownership in the UK. So this is the application. If you've ever seen one of these, you will have done if you have a gun yourself. Shotgun certificate. What kind of guns are legal? Rifles, shotguns, muzzle-loading pistols, handguns are all allowed. And it's normally shotguns and rifles because of clay pigeon shooting and farmers. Handguns were banned after Dunblane, of course, in 1996. Basically banned because of that massacre of 16 children and one teacher. OK, move on. Which guns are illegal? Automatic, burst fire, semi-automatic. The logic of this is clear. Anything that does a lot of damage in a short time. You can't have a firearm disguised as another item, such as a walking stick. And you certainly, by the way, can't have a mortar bomb. I think we needed to know that. Or firearms that discharge noxious liquid gas. And you also can't have tasers and stun guns and whatnot. Let's see the next slide. How do people get a licence? You apply to your local police force. They think, is this person a wrong-un? Convictions are going to be a problem. Your GP will be contacted. If you've got alcohol or drug history, or you've been aggressive in your high street, they may just say, I'm sorry, a gun is not for you. So, last one here. How old do you have to be? This is the funny one. You can actually fill out this form at 14. You can become licensed, although you can't buy or hire a firearm until you're 18, but you could use somebody else's. So if you're a farmer's son or daughter, you could be somebody who could hold a gun on the farm. You can only use it in that way or for sport or as a slaughtering instrument. Blimey. It just makes you think, why do we have these things? Why do we, Owen?
Well, I mean...
You and I going to agree on this?
It seems that way. I think the only reason they're allowed, clearly, is because of hunting, but I don't think people should be hunting animals with guns. I accept, I'm a meat eater, I'm not going to be a hypocrite, I'm an omnivore, and so I accept that we should keep animals in humane conditions and then kill them for that purpose, but not by shooting them. I don't think people should be rampaging around the countryside with guns shooting at animals. We should
What about farmers who shoot rabbits because they're eating their crops?
I mean,
What do you do instead? Have a warning sign or... Scarecrow?
A little
Can't
scarecrow,
use poison.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think there are probably a bit more humane ways of killing rabbits, probably. Reducing rabbit populations than shooting them with a handgun.
Where are you? Let's see where Lynn... I can't even guess where you are on guns.
I think this is a bit of a reactionary policy PR from the government because something so heinous has happened. But if we look at, gun incidents, they're still very rare. In 2023 and 24, there were 22 incidents, and that's not even murders. Yes, it's still too much, but I think if somebody is going to commit a heinous crime such as this, or someone really wants to get hold of a gun, there's no policy like this that's going to stop them. I grew up in Tottenham. I saw guns around me. They didn't have a licence. You could buy one for £350. If someone wanted one, they'd get one.
But it's easy if there's a blanket ban to just confiscate all guns immediately and take action.
Even from farmers?
No, I think farmers...
Yes.
I think
farmers get angry really quickly.
Yeah, but the problem is if you've got guns in circulation, they can go missing, and then, because you're right, people can still... we had a horrible, hideous atrocity last year when loads of little kids were stabbed to death, but it's much harder to commit mass murder using knives. It's much easier to kill lots of people very quickly.
We're not
with guns.
America. We very rarely have those heinous crimes.
Because of our gun
Thank
laws.
goodness.
Because of our gun
Exactly.
laws.
No, I do. I'm not going to say I disagree with this. Anything that can make our society safer. I just don't think it's really going to touch the sides on people that intentional with heinous crimes.
There was a crime 2 years ago, you might have seen, where a head teacher and her daughter was shot dead by her husband, who was the father of the 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And I noticed it because it was the school I used to go to. And the husband is an accountant with a gun license? What the hell is going on?
I think that was just something triggered, and because
why would he be allowed to have a gun?
An accountant, I know. I think they were quite well-to-do and had land, or that they were in the countryside.
Maybe, or maybe he'd been hunting before. Maybe he got it on the basis that he wanted to go hunting.
Well, there we go. It just shows under the existing gun laws, people who just he didn't need a gun. Let's just
he didn't
bluntly honest about it. If we just have a blanket ban on all guns for private possession, then there will be less guns in circulation, and then there will be less risk. I mean, that's just an obvious fact.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Like I say, I can't find fault with that. I know some people do need guns. I met somebody who was a fox sniper the other day, and he goes in urban settings, in gardens where they've had persistent fox intrusion. He will sit at the spare room and use a golden bullet. Yeah, that's it.
But
the
point
foxes know that's the garden of death.
But also, Joe Cox was killed by someone who stole the gun from someone who had a licence. So that's the problem. If you've got people with licences, the guns in circulation.
Did he? That guy had a licence, did he? I didn't know that.
No, he didn't have a
Oh,
licence.
he didn't? Right,
He
okay.
he stole it from someone with a licence.
Yeah.
So it just shows if you've got people with licences, you've got guns in circulation.
Well, look, if we're talking about the States, which naturally comes up in this context, Sandy Hook, which was one of the worst mass shootings because it was primary school kids, the guy who did that, whose name I think was Adam Lanza, I mean, he would never have been allowed a gun. He had a whole assortment of mental illnesses, but he took his mum's guns.
Of course.
Because she was a prepper.
I don't agree with eradicating guns in America, though, at all.
Do you not?
No, the landscape of America is so vast, and I think you need that level of protection when you live
I love the idea that how many mass shootings have been stopped by some guy pulling a gun out and shooting the bad person? Because I never see that story.
It never happens.
Never happens.
But those people don't have, like I said, if you're going to want to get a gun, laws are not going to matter. You're going to get it.
On that basis, would you allow good people to carry tasers in this country?
Yes, I probably would.
OK. Richard in Essex, you're in favour of some gun ownership, I know.
Oh, yes, most definitely, Jeremy. The reason is, what are you going to do with the deer population in this country? It is so vast that you've got to have a professional killer come in to shoot them. If they don't, they will eat all the food that we're trying to produce to keep ordinary people, like having bread and things like that. So what are you going to do with that? And do you realise how many people you're going to put out of work who won't be paying any taxes and all that to this?
No, I'm not sure. We have the same argument with people who used to operate the scaffold when we had capital punishment. There was a worry that they would lose their line of work. I think in the end that's got to be secondary.
But also, I mean, Richard, there's a very simple answer to that, because what we're arguing against is the private possession of guns. So you could just have the same way we're not going to stop the army having guns, you just have an agency where...
No, but he's making a good point. So I live near a big park with deer.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, any deer watching, I'm sorry to say this, but unless they're culled once a year, they would be out of... Richard's right, they'd be out of control.
Because we're arguing against the private possession of guns, but if you have a state agency where they're allowed, in the same way the army and police are allowed...
Oh, I see. How about that, Richard?
It's not private individuals.
Yeah, because the army has guns, so you bring in, let's say, soldiers to kill the deer, Richard.
Oh, you can't. They won't be able to do it.
Why?
It was a simple reason is that how many people would you have to shoot the deer? Well, you're taking your army away from what they should. We're on about spending a lot of money on defence.
Where I'm talking about, which is Richmond Park in southwest London, which is so posh you're barely allowed to even cycle through it. I mean, there's one guy does it, and he wears shorts, and he closes the park, and he goes around with a gun. He's on his own, Richard.
Yeah, I know, and that's how that's done. I mean, because I used to be a shotgun holder, right? And for me to get a certificate for a shotgun and all this, that, and the other, the police had to come to my house,
Good.
have a look round, see where my gun would be stored. I have to have it the cabinet bolted to the wall.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the checks. And then I have to get a doctor permission to have a gun.
And what did you use the
And
gun
it
for,
cost-
Richard?
Well, shooting pheasants and pigeons and
Yeah,
all
I
this,
just-
that,
I
and the
don't
other.
want-
And I live...
Let me take one more call.
Off it as a,
I just don't want you to do that. I think that's the problem. I don't want you to shoot pigeons and pheasants.
We're never going to bridge that
mean-
gap. Thank you, Richard, so much for calling. Paul in Lancashire, do you have a gun?
Good morning. No, I don't, Jeremy.
I think we should just ban them all. I mean, Owen's idea is just stop anyone having a gun unless you're in the army.
No, I was in the Army Cadets when I was a young lad. Just before I go into my little subject, deers, they could be killed by farmers or people following the country code. If you get an overload of deer, yes, well, okay, fetch the farmers in. And don't waste the meat. Don't waste the meat. It's good meat. Anyway, getting back to the gun culture of this country, the only people in this country, as far as I'm aware, should be the police to carry and the military. Yes, we have gun clubs.
Yeah.
Agree.
Well, Owen, I mean, there we are. And,
Yeah, I
and
think
Lin,
that's
Lin
private
wants it to go
people.
further. You wouldn't have an Olympic sports team, Paul. You know, think about those shooting people in the Olympics.
So no clay pigeon shooting? No clay pigeon
Right, we have a gun club. Can I just get this last bit? We have gun clubs, right? You have to be a member. You have to be a license holder.
Yep.
The guns and rifles are in a cabinet, totally separate to the ammunition.
Bolted to the wall.
Both are locked up.
To the wall.
Both are locked up and secured and checked to make sure that all the weapons, before anybody leaves that club, are in them cabinet,
Good.
in them files cabinet,
Good.
locked away. And same with the ammunition.
Thanks, Paul.